Hello and welcome to the Jolly Outdoors. Today's video is an interesting one. If any of you are Munzee players, you're going to know the name Pilsleyguy. In the leaderboards, he is the world's #1 Munzee player. So today is a little conversation I've had with him. I asked him many questions about Munzee, including where did his name Pilsleyguy come from?
Oh, right, Pilsleyguy. Pilsley is a very small village in Derbyshire, where I used to live. I used to own a house there. And I moved down to the south coast, down to New Milton area, Bournemouth area, 4.5 years ago now. So I was already down here when I started playing Munzee 3 years ago. But of course, you need a name. You need to choose a name. It's like, oh, I'm on the spot. What do I choose? And I'd used Pilsleyguy sort of previously, even though I wasn't living anymore. I did actually at the time still own the house there, and so it just was like, okay, I'll just use that then. So there we go. And of course, you're stuck with it. You can't change it. Once you choose your Munzee name, that's it.
Right, that's it, is it? Right.
So yeah, the only way to change it would be to quit your account and start over again, which I'm not going to.
No way you're going to be doing that, is there? That's a good point. I mean, the fact that you've got, what is it? I've got it written here: 6,142,399 points. I mean, that's pretty crazy. That must have taken a lot of time.
It's taken a lot of time, a lot of travelling, which obviously costs a lot, and everything else that sort of costs in that. But it's sort of a hobby, and like with any hobby, you have to sort of spend money to do it if you want to. You can do Munzee for free, but even if you sort of just drive in your car to an area where there's lots of Munzees, you're still paying money. So yeah, it is an insane score. I'm just under 1 million points ahead of the guy in number 2. Yeah, I was 1 million points ahead the last couple of days. He got a few points the other day. He's caught up with me a little bit, but which is when I'm on 6.1 million, he's on 5.1 million. There's a huge gap there. So
there's a massive difference. You're well and truly in the lead, I think.
Yeah. I've been number 1 since the end of September of last year, so it's been over a year now. I'm hoping to do the full calendar year, but I am probably slowing down a little bit on going sort of insanely crazy with Munzee. But I'll still do it. I'll still continue to play and go to events and things like that, which are always good fun. And yeah, so I will be continuing, but maybe not quite at the insane level that I have done the last couple of years. So I think I've had 11 trips abroad or this year.
Really?
So last year as well was about the same.
Wow.
So, yeah,
how with regards to travelling then? I mean, you said 11 trips. How far have you been?
This year, the furthest I went abroad was the US. I had 2 weeks, which was all pre-planned. Every year in October time, Munzee hold what they call a Munzee HQ Bash. Their headquarters are in a place called McKinney in Texas, just north of Dallas, and so they host it there, and they'd already had the date. So I said, okay, I want to go to this second year that they were doing it, because I missed out last year, couldn't go. Such a long way to go, and the cost and things like that. So I sort of saved up and sorted my holidays out at work, and booked the 2 weeks off, booked the flight 6 months in advance. I always will try and do it as cheap as I can by saving and things like that and cost. But the idea was as well, literally just spend 2 weeks going to the States and getting as many Munzees as I could. So not only did I go to Dallas in Texas, I went to Nashville, Tennessee, where there's a load around there, and Washington DC, and a few other places as well. So it was a full-on 2 weeks. But
wow, that sounds.
It was literally just a Munzee vacation.
Yeah, that actually sounds amazing. Actually, to be honest,
it was great fun.
I'm going to be going to America myself, but not as well as you've done there. We're going on a family holiday soon, going to Florida, but so that'll be pretty exciting.
Florida is one of the Munzee hotspots now.
Is it really?
To Florida, yeah. So are you going around Orlando? Or?
Exactly, yeah.
There's loads around Orlando. There's loads on the Space Coast as well, and a place called Brandon in Florida. There's absolutely tons of them. They've got loads of really dedicated players down there, really nice people. I've met a lot of them, and they've just absolutely, the place is just insane down there. So if you did do some Munzee whilst you were there, it's certainly a place you'll certainly have no problem getting loads of points around Disney and things like that.
Excellent. All right, I'm looking forward to that then. And what I was going to ask was,
yes,
how how long have you played Munzee? Because I think Munzee's 4 years old now. Have you been doing it since the beginning?
I think it started in July of 2011. I started in the February of 2013, so I've not quite reached 3 years yet. I actually got into the game just through a friend of mine. He sort of was on Facebook one day and mentioned it on Facebook, and someone asked him what it was, and I read the comment, thought, that sounds interesting. Saw him about a week later at a friend's for dinner, told me what it was, downloaded the app, which is when I had to suddenly, Pilsleyguy, what should I call myself?
Yeah.
And literally just outside my friend's house at the time, there was just a couple outside the house, caught those. Obviously it's February, and it was a really cold sort of spring that year. But I started to get a few Munzees here and there. There weren't that many in the local area, and a lot of people who got into Munzee, and I think this happens quite a lot, have been geocachers, and what they tend to do is they hide or had hidden Munzees like they would do a geocacher. They would put one out and then hide it and sort of make it a cryptic clue, which is not really what Munzee's about. You actually, it's better to actually, you want a trail, lots of points to get, so you're not just getting one travelling miles just for 5 points. It's kind of not worth it. You want to do a trail, maybe some specials in there as well, so people have got something to go for, and make the clues easy. That's the idea. You're not really supposed to sort of hide them like you would a geocache and do a cryptic clue and make it really difficult. You can if you want, but the problem is if you do that, you won't get the cap-on points. Part of the game of Munzee is not only do you get points for deploying a Munzee and capturing a Munzee, but you also get points for people capturing your Munzee. And that's where I've got a lot of my points. By putting specials out, making them easy to find, creating big long trails, and for me that sort of worked wonders to sort of get me lots and lots of points. And I'm lucky that where I live, down here in sort of Bournemouth Pool area, there's quite a lot of people that play. So if I put a special out or create a little loop somewhere, a little trail, I'll probably get within a month or so, 15, 20, sometimes 30 odd caps. So, you're getting points all the time from those.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's interesting. I was going to ask you about that because I was going to say, normally, from what I've seen, as a Munzee is about 5 points.
Yes.
So to see that you've got over 6 million, I was thinking that's a lot of Munzees. So
it is, yeah. So a normal Munzee, it's 5 points for deploying it. It's a normal green Munzee, 5 points for capturing somebody else's Munzee. But if somebody else captures your Munzee, you get 3 points. Now, when I very first started the game 3 years ago, I think there were only about 4 different types of Munzees. But since then, it's really grown. I mean, the company was quite small when I started. I think it was just sort of almost like a hobby, a part-time thing. But it's actually a business now, and they've got a shop and a unit over in Dallas, and they're trying to grow the game all the time. And it is getting bigger all the time. I know this weekend, I think they're introducing, again, over the Thanksgiving weekend, there's about 3 or 4 brand new types of Munzees that sort of do different things. I'm not going into too much detail because I don't quite understand it all myself yet, but there's lots of, it's not just about capturing one Munzee. There's they do, for example, there are jewels, which is like a diamond, which is worth between 5 and 15 points to capture. There's rubies, which are slightly worth more, but again, the person that deploys it, they get more points as well. So you can actually get quite a lot of cap-on points from, depending on what type of Munzee you deploy. So a lot of my score not only is capture points, but is also made up of the cap-on points. I couldn't tell you how many, but it's a lot.
I bet have to be. I think. Yeah, I mean, with when you said you people had quite hidden ones, as opposed to complicated ones to find.
Yes.
Which is not what you're supposed to do on Munzee. But I mean,
Yeah.
What is the hardest one you found?
I think the hardest one that I can remember was one in London, a place called Gunnersbury Park, which is just slightly to the west of the centre of London. And someone had actually put one in a tree, but you literally had to climb this tree, and it wasn't a small tree either. And this was for 5 points. I mean, I think one of us went up and took all 3 phones up, and that way, that was a little bit insane. That was. Sometimes you just can't find them. People maybe don't put a good clue on there, or if the game relies on the GPS being accurate, and sometimes with any phone, you can be stood in a place and your GPS, if it's not entirely accurate, it'll put you 20 feet that way or 20 feet the other way, and it can be quite difficult. So if the GPS is good, then that's fine, and you'll normally get an idea of where Munzees are in urban areas, lampposts, backs of green boxes, signs and things like that. Rural areas tend to be more difficult, especially in the summer, as you know, things grow up, there's nettles, all that kind of stuff. And again, if it's sort of, you get a clue, and the clue is tree, and you're like, well, okay, I'm in a forest here, this is really handy. So there's only a certain amount of time that you can actually search, for 5 points, all the trees that you can find. So I think people have sort of learned to I'm always quite an advocate of naming the Munzee well. I actually generally put the clue in the title of the Munzee, which a lot of people still don't do. I do try and say, well, please put the clue in the title, but also put as much information in there as you can. So, for example, if I deploy a Munzee on a lamppost, I will call it like lamppost 12, and then the clue at the bottom on the back. So it should be hopefully really, really obvious, so that when literally as they're walking up to it, they can say, okay, lamppost 12 is over there. Scan on the back, great, got it straight away. People don't want to be spending a long period of time searching for something, and they do disappear. They do go, lampposts get changed, people peel them off. It does happen. The older a Munzee is, generally the more difficult it is to sort of going to be found. I think you found yourself that one of them had faded quite a lot.
Yeah.
You can print your own, and that's fine to do that, but I found by the time you printed it and you laminate it and you put something sticky on the back and then it peels off, it's actually easier to buy a generic sort of sticker that you can get from Munzee itself, or there's various sellers around the country and the Europe and that will sell you sort of generic Munzees to use. So it can be a problem, but I think the game relies on other players letting you know if it's not there. It's always a good idea is to either try. You've got 30 days to replace a Munzee if 2 people are unable to locate it. If you don't in the 30 days, it'll disappear off the map, and then that after 7 days, someone else can then put a new Munzee out in the exact same location. Or if it's on a sort of a green that I've deployed somewhere, the other side of the country, and thinking, well, I'm not going to get there in 30 days, I'll just archive it straight away, and that'll leave a space for somebody else to go and put another Munzee in there. So the game does rely on the players being, if they can't find it, if they genuinely can't find it, to put a clue on there and sort of say, can't find it, unable to locate. So it keeps the game fresh, hopefully. But you will always get Munzees that maybe haven't been captured for a couple of years, and until somebody tries to go for that, you don't know whether it's there or not. But it's just part of the game, really.
Yeah, when playing Mumsy, I compare it to geocaching quite a lot, and I've found, with geocaches there is a lot more maintenance involved because you've got logs and stuff.
Yes.
So in geocaching, there's a rule that you're not really supposed to place a geocache unless you're in the vicinity that you can maintenance it.
Yes.
So with Mumsy, you can literally place it in another country, then, can you?
Yeah, virtual Munzees. Yeah.
Right.
So where you obviously know the game where you've got an actual physical QR code that you actually stick somewhere, and you have to be there to actually scan it. So all the physical Munzees, you physically have to be there. I know in the past people have tried to cheat by using fake GPS, but Mumsy won't let you do that now. They won't let you have anything fake GPS on your phone or however you're using to capture it. It just won't work. So they people, unfortunately, with any game, people will always try and cheat. I don't quite get it myself. Why would you want to cheat anyway? So, but they also do virtual Munzees, and there's lots of different types of virtual Munzees as well, worth different points. But the way that works is that as a player, you have to be within 300 feet for a normal virtual Munzee to capture that. Okay, so you physically have to be there yourself to capture it, but to deploy it, you can do it from home. I mean, if I've got a virtual now, I could stick it in America or Australia or wherever I wanted to. You just have to have the coordinates on the map, get the coordinates, and in fact, with the virtuals, you can actually do a thing called quick deploy. So if you can find a space, you can just literally put a little sort of fake Mumsy pin in there, and then you can convert that to the virtual, and that will put a virtual on the map, so you've deployed it. So it is quite easy to deploy virtuals, but with physical ones you do have to physically be there to do that. So virtuals are used a lot in parks and things where maybe you can't, like the Royal Parks in London, you can't place physical Munzies in there. It's part of the game where we can't do that, so we just load it with virtuals. And places maybe like theme parks like Disney World in Florida, where private companies, private ground, you can't have physical stickers all over the place. One, they'd get peeled off within a week because Disney would clean them off, but so these places get filled with virtuals, and virtuals have been a big part of the game. It's sort of increased. Some people don't like them because it sort of takes away from the physical side of it, the walking around and doing the trails and things, but it has become a big part of the game. And for example, when I go abroad, I will always look for areas which have got a lot of the virtual Mumsies, because I know that's the quickest and easiest way to get a lot of points quickly. So it's part of the game, it is what it is. But so when you go to Orlando, or if you ever go to London, to Hyde Park or Central London, the place is absolutely loaded with virtual Mumsies. So it's just, so you're actually capping things that aren't physically there.
Yeah.
But you do have to be within 300 feet of them. So
The geocaching used to have virtuals, and they got grandfathered, I think it's called it, and so now you can't actually place any new ones. So any that are out are there only because they haven't been taken off yet. So there's only a few left, really. I think it got to the point where geocaching, I wanted to be more of a solid thing than a virtual thing, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you do any other GPS hobbies at all?
No, I don't. I mean, I'd never done geocaching before I did Mumsy. My friend who introduced me had done a little bit of geocaching. I think for me, because you do get a lot of cryptic clues and that kind of thing, I get very frustrated quite quickly. So it's kind of like, if I can't find something within 5 seconds, I'm like, oh, bored, I'll move on to the next one. And I think that's probably why I don't do geocaching. And also, I think because I got so engrossed in Mumsy and like that particular thing, I haven't got time to do anything else, to be quite honest. So I mean, you do come across geocaches occasionally. People will stick a Mumsy by or in a geocache, but
I've seen that,
you probably see one or two in there, but generally people will keep them apart. I do know that when they host geocaching events, occasionally people will sort of link on a Mumsy event, which tends to be a lot smaller. There was a thing in the States last year in Maryland called Geo Woodstock. There was also a Mumsy event there at the same time, and they have a badge. I'll explain about badges in a second, but called Coexist, which is basically what they're saying is that the two games can coexist together with each other. And we are aware that there are a few geocaches that just really don't like Mumsy for whatever reason, but there are again a lot of players who have been geocachers who now will just Mumsy or mostly Mumsy, but sometimes geocache as well. And there's other games out there as well, but again, I think it's just the time thing. I got so engrossed in Mumsy that, to be quite honest, I haven't got time to do anything else.
Yeah, well, like your t-shirt says, eat, sleep, Mumsy.
Eat, sleep, Mumsy. Yeah, I do it all the time. That's all. I got this specially made as a friend who's also a Mumsy player occasionally. She's got a t-shirt business over in Portsmouth to our mutual friend, so she made this for me. So yeah, I do like to wear this. It's quite fun.
So, well then, considering you've been doing it for a few years now,
yes,
what would you say is the most enjoyable part about it for you? What is it that's grabbed you? What is it about Mumsy that you now eat, sleep?
I think initially, because I'm sort of the person that I've always liked maps, and I like travelling as well, and I think sort of the fun side of it, to actually find a Mumsy, I think was initially what spurred me on. When I first started, most of them were sort of in the New Forest, and I remember walking around in March after work. It's freezing cold, and weren't getting many points. And the game has progressed along a lot since then. And what I did find was that after doing it for a few weeks, I sort of found a Facebook group with some local players in there and started chatting to them, and then occasionally started to meet people. And then through that, I sort of asked on the Facebook group and said, does anybody want to go abroad to Cologne in Germany, which is like, Cologne in Germany is probably the #1 place in the world to go for just Munzees in general. I mean, there are lots of other big hotspots as well, but Cologne, I think, is sort of the mecca almost of the place to go. Yeah, I managed to get 3 people who I'd never met before who were interested in going, and we I think we'd only briefly met, a couple over in Portsmouth area, another friend of mine, Michelle, over in Bournemouth, and we sort of just took a car over, went on Eurotunnel, spent 5 days in Cologne, had a great time, met a couple of German players while we were there as well, and it's that whole kind of, that people are really, really friendly. I do find that a lot. There's a lot of Facebook groups. I've obviously met a lot of players. You do meet them while you're Munzeeing. There are events as well, which are very, very social, because I did think to start with it would be quite a solitary sort of pastime, a bit train spotterish, a bit geeky-ish, that kind of thing. But actually, there really aren't anybody at all that I've met that really is, everyone's really, really nice, and people generally say, yeah, you get a few whinges and moans and gripes and things on some of the Facebook groups, but actually, 99% of the time it's all very positive. People are really, really nice and friendly, and you all sort of share the same thing. So it's sort of gone on from the whole statistical and maps and that kind of thing, which sort of first drew me into the game, to this sort of game now, which, yes, it's all about the points, but the whole travelling thing for me, and yes, I've obviously had to pay for that myself, has been great fun. I mean, I've been to places in Europe I never sort of thought I would get to, like Budapest and Copenhagen, and a lot of German cities. I've never really been to Germany at all, and I'm very impressed really with sort of most of the places I've been have been really, really nice. So I think just being able to sort of travel around and go to places, and you still enjoy the places whilst you're there. I'm not somebody particularly who would go to a city and spend hours in a museum or something like that. I would just get really bored really quickly. So with the Mumsy game, especially with the virtual game, is you can walk around the city centre, you see the city centre, you experience it, you go to sit down for a drink or a meal. So you're still there, you're still enjoying it, but you're Munsying as well at the same time. I think that's probably ultimately what I've enjoyed the most, is almost the excuse to travel loads.
Well,
but yeah,
that's definitely a good reason. I would love to travel more, so I can definitely understand you there.
Yeah.
I mean, with the amount of stuff you love about it and how long you've been doing it, surely there's going to be something though that you think maybe could be changed, or maybe put into the game, or.
Yeah, I suppose I'm someone that's just happy to sort of go along with it, and sometimes Mumsy will do things that don't quite work or don't work as well as they want to do. One thing I will say about them is they're very good, and they're always constantly trying to change things, add new things into the game. They don't always work. They tried to introduce something yesterday, a virtual trail Mumsy, where you have to cap 5 stages of this trail. They've got physical ones already, but they tried to do a virtual one, and for whatever reason it didn't work, because it's Thanksgiving over there, and there was loads of stuff going on Facebook, and so they put everything on hold now till Monday. So occasionally things don't work, but they're always open to suggestions from other people for new types of Mumsy, different things as well. What don't I like about the game? I think because I'm somebody that sort of will just sort of adhere to the rules and just go along with it. I suppose there's nothing really that I gripe about. I mean, occasionally, if your signal goes on your phone, that can be a bit of a pain sometimes. I do moan a lot at my phone. I mean, I've got a Samsung Galaxy 5, which is actually really, really good for Mumsy, but just occasionally it'll just freeze up or just something, and I'll just start swearing at my phone. But that's just me. So really, it's just the technology that annoys me more than anything, or being in an area where the signal's poor or something like that. That can just be frustrating. As to the game itself, I don't really have any gripes about it at all. The people that run it are very, very open. They're always sort of announcing things, and they did do video casts occasionally as well, which is quite nice. You can keep in touch. So yeah, no sort of major gripes about the game particularly. And the fact they're always introducing new things is also really, really good as well.
Excellent. I suppose, just a last question, really, just to finish up the interview then, is that personally, I noticed you have your own YouTube channel. Have you got any plans for doing anything major with that?
Not particularly. I've had the YouTube channel for quite a while. There's all sorts of stuff on there when I used to do running and flipping heck, Lego things on there as well, trying to do some time lapse stuff.
Yeah, I noticed. Yeah.
Not really. I do. I think a lot of the things I do is actually on Facebook. So if I go abroad or go somewhere Munzee, and I'll tend to take pictures, take a bit of video. I've tried Periscope as well, which is kind of like a live video thing.
Yeah.
That can be a bit limited sometimes because if the signal's poor, the picture quality is just rubbish, basically. So, not really thought about it. I suppose I could do things on YouTube. I'm not probably one to be... there are people on there that do make YouTube videos about Munzee and how to do things. I just don't think it's kind of my style, really. I'm more of a... just sort of get on with it and maybe take a couple of nice pictures of somewhere and a bit of video of where I've been, but that's about it. So just I think more because it's just not really my style to do that kind of thing. But yeah.
Well, no, thank you very much for
that's all right.
For taking part in this interview for me. But I suppose that'll be it. Do you have anything you want to add?
One thing I will do is I'm going to be a bit naughty here. Is Munzee introduced this a couple of weeks ago. It's called the referral code. So if anybody watching this wants to play Munzee, what happens is if they scan, I'll show you in a second. If they scan this, they get 50 points.
Right.
Okay. Now you can only capture it, and it will only work if you've captured less than 10 Munzees. So I know you've only captured 4. So you can get my referral code. So if I hold that up there,
excellent.
Can you see that? If I just hold that there just for a second. People can always pause that. There we go. So that's my referral code.
Yeah,
that's
brilliant.
One. What I will say as well is Munzee have been very, very nice to me. Obviously, I've been number 1 for quite a while. I'd like to think I'm quite a nice person and sort of get on with people quite well. And they have sort of rewarded me. They've given me a couple of cups. I'll hold these up for you. This is one that I got earlier in the year. It says Pilsleyguy World number 1. So that was nice. They gave that to me back in April. There was an event on in London, and Rob, the president of Mumsy, came over from Dallas for the weekend to London, and they presented me with this, which was quite nice. And then when I went over to Dallas back in October, it was only last month in October, they awarded me this, which was a nice plaque. If I can hold that up, there we go. Oh, Pilsleyguy for 5. I was the first player to get 5 million points.
Oh wow!
Now, obviously, since then, because of my American trip, I'm now on 6.1 million.
Yeah.
But yeah, they gave this to me, and it was sort of at the event as well, which was really, really nice. It's just nice to be sort of recognised, and I don't really do it for the fame or the glory or anything like that.
No,
but
that's
obviously,
fantastic,
when you get
isn't
to World War I, people sort of do know who you are.
Yeah.
But it's just nice for them to do little things like that, and it does mean a lot. And I'll be able to sort of keep these forever. And I know I'm not going to be world number 1 forever. Somebody else will come along and sort of blast me out of the water. But I think it's been great fun, and I do thoroughly enjoy it. I will keep Munzee in. And yeah, as I say, they're just growing the game all the time and changing things. So it's sort of that's a nice part of the game as well.
Excellent. Oh, thank you very much for sharing that. That was really cool.
Awesome.
So guys, there you have it. That was Pilsleyguy. He was a great guy, and I thank you very much, Pilsleyguy, for taking the time to have a conversation with me. If you guys liked the video, hit the like button, and I shall see you next week.